Everybody, how you doing? Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Ruby Girl Talk with your favorite Ruby Girl, Dr. K, also functioning in the role of Coach K. And tonight, you know what time it is. I thank you for everybody that's already tuned in, that's ready, that's on time, like so excited, like, oh, it's another Ruby Girl show. So once again, thank you. And I have a wonderful guest. I can't wait for y'all to hear her story. I've known Kristen quite a long time. It's been, oh my God, I don't know how long I have known you. Can I just call you Chris? Because that's all I have called you since I have known you. So I have known Chris at least, I'll say 15 years, at least 15 years. And we sat down and really had a chat. And when she told me her story, it just really touched my heart because I realized that it's by God's grace every day of her life that she's here. God spared her. Some people have suffered less than what she have and they're not here. And so that's why it's just so powerful. Even the name of your business, because even the name of the business describes your life, Chris. So before we get started, Chris, I don't know if you went on my page, did you see the video? So you can share it with everybody that's out there watching. But for $29.99, I can share it for you. Just kidding. So, all right, everybody, the first thing I want you to do is share this video. So, while she's looking on my page for the video, let me tell you about Ruby Girl. So, if you new to the show, new to my platform, Ruby Girl comes from Proverbs 31 and 10. Who can find a virtuous woman for her price is far above the price of a ruby? So, ladies, that makes you rare, virtuous, and valuable. So, the Ruby Girl brand is about restoring the respect of women, restoring our rightful place in society. It's about empowering women and inspiring women to be like the Proverbs 31:10 woman. Let that be your mentor. Let that be your guide. You do not have to do everything she did because girlfriend was busy. You hear me? She took care of all her business, not some of it. And you can too. If you walk in your calling that God has called you to, you definitely can do what the Proverbs 31 and 10 plus woman did and more. Go to rubygirl.net, and while you're there, get your t-shirt so you can have your full Ruby Girl uniform. So I call it, if you're a soldier, you wear your uniform. If you're a Ruby Girl, you get your shirt. And then while you're there, get my free ebook. Here's the code so that it's free. LOVE, love. All right, let's get this show started. Miss Chris, will you introduce yourself to the audience?
Sure. My name is Chris Veasley, and I am co-founder and director of a nonprofit initiative called the Chronic Pain Research Alliance. And I also am a freelance photographer, specializing in seascape, nautical, and marine mammal photography.
Oh, wow. She takes some beautiful pictures, y'all. When I tell you, her pictures make you feel like you right there looking over her shoulder as she takes the pictures. And so I just want to share one with you right quick because it's so beautiful. I just want you to get in mind the type of talent that's here tonight. She's not just a regular photographer. She's not just someone that you be like, oh, her pictures tell a story. Her pictures just don't look real. It looked like she actually took a paintbrush and just brushed this photo. The water looks so still and so peaceful. This doesn't even look real, Chris. I would swear this was an AI picture, but it's so beautiful and it shows you the eye. But what always gets me is that I'm always like, where was she at when she took this picture? Was she on a boat? Was she standing on the shore? Where was you at? Where was you standing at? Do you remember when you took this picture?
Yeah, I was on shore.
So, what
Just
made you decide to just capture this moment?
Well, that particular day, I was actually taking a picture of a boat, a commercial fishing boat that was coming underneath the bridge. So one of the types of photography that I do are, fishing vessels, and particularly ones that have inspirational names. So I'm drawn to like some of the ones behind me that are called like determination, tenacity, perseverance. That particular day, I was taking a picture of a boat called the Persistence. and it was coming underneath the bridge. And then there's also one of our Rhode Island lighthouses behind it. And it was around dusk, so I stuck around and just waited until sunset. And then this picture I took actually after sunset.
Beautiful, beautiful. So let's talk about your journey.
Sure.
Now, your path to where you are today started with a traumatic accident at the age of 15. Can you share the details of what happened that day?
Sure. So when I was 15, I was riding home from basketball camp on a bike, and I was hit by a car going about 40, 45 miles an hour. And it should have been a fatal accident. I had lost a third of my liver, broken all of my ribs, had a collapsed lung, my leg bone in my calf snapped in half and came out of the skin. I lost my gallbladder, so on and so forth. Um, and so the doctors have basically told my parents not to expect that I would make it, through the night. And so obviously I did. And I was had multiple surgeries over the next few days, and woke up in the ICU about 4 days later. And from there, spent about a month in the hospital, about a 6 months recovering from that. And then a year later, had to have a couple more surgeries to remove hardware from my leg. And so obviously I'd experienced a whole, different types of pain, and acute pain, traumatic pain, post-surgical pain, surgical pain, all trauma-related pain, all the different types of pain there are. And I remember praying at one point in time and just asking God that I never be in pain again. Um, and then a few years later, I started developing chronic neck and upper back pain, which kind of made sense. I mean, my body was pretty much broken. When your ribs fuse back together because they're constantly moving, it's not like a long bone, in your leg that they can just, align perfectly and set and you can allow it to heal. Your ribs are constantly moving because you're constantly breathing. So when they fuse back together, they don't fuse perfectly straight, right? And then the heads of your ribs fit into your thoracic spine, or, the middle part of your back, right? So it's logical to most people that I would start kind of having muscular pain, myofascial pain in my neck and back. And that's kind of where my journey started around 17, 18 years old. And of course, at that point in time, I thought, well, this is likely from my accident. It was manageable at that point with chiropractic, physical therapy, exercise. At the time, I was entering college and was pre-med, pre-physical therapy. So I was doing a lot of courses. I had been an athlete in high school. So exercise and fitness was kind of a big, played a big role in my life. So I, managed it with stretching and exercise, physical therapy, chiropractic, heat, ice, massage, all the things that I could do. But unfortunately, it didn't go away. And it was, like I said, manageable in the early years. But as time progressed and I would either have acute injuries or other things happened, I ended up starting to develop a chronic headache. And then it went to my low back and multiple other areas of my body. So as I mentioned, I do have a science degree. What we know now is that women in particular are more susceptible to developing pain in multiple parts of their body or having multiple pain diagnosis, right? So instead of just having like an isolated knee pain or something like that, they're more likely to go on to have multiple types of pain or multiple pain diagnosis. And what we've learned over the last 10 years in the science of pain has been really remarkable. We didn't really know a lot about it because research hasn't been funded, and the government and private entities haven't really invested very much in pain research over many years, hence why I do the nonprofit work that I do through the Chronic Pain Research Alliance. But what we've learned is that people that go on to develop chronic pain, there have been some really fascinating studies that have looked at people who have come into the emergency room after a car accident with whiplash, and they followed these people for several years after they were discharged out of the emergency room. And there are very clear two groups. There are two groups of people, one that, experienced that acute traumatic pain and they went to physical therapy and did what they were supposed to do and the pain went away. And then there's another group for which the pain did not go away. It turned chronic. And what they found in that study and others like it is that the brains of people who go on to develop chronic pain after an acute incident like that are different. They're wired different. The structure of their brain is different. Different areas of their brain talk to each other differently. And women also have a number of hormones, right, through our cycle and the way that we've been developed that make us more susceptible to experiencing chronic pain and experiencing it in greater severity. So there's a lot of different reasons why women go on. It doesn't mean that men don't have chronic pain, because they do. But women are more likely to go on, like myself, over the years and develop multiple chronic pain conditions. Um, so long story short, I'm 48 now, so it's been
Mm.
30 years of chronic pain that I have been dealing with.
That's a long time, Chris. I just think about when I went through my pain a few months ago, and it was temporary, but it was a lot. It weighs on your mind, mentally, and like you said, the brains are different. People forget that your brain is a body part, and your brain can be damaged, just like your arm can be damaged or your leg can be damaged, and it has to be fixed. And usually, medicine, you can, sometimes surgery, but you know, it's funny how you said that the people brain talks, different parts of the brain talk to each other differently. And fibromyalgia, I've heard that a lot. And I got friends that have it, and they say how their doctor tells them that's all in your head. They can't figure out where it's coming from, but mostly women have that. And it seems like we suffer so much, you know? It's like we don't get a break. We really don't get a break. But what I needed to ask you was, you talked about a lot of the physical challenges that you had to deal with the pain, the neck, the back, and all that for like 30 years. What are some of the mental challenges you have faced since that accident?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's pretty logical to expect that if you have pain, on a daily or a frequent basis, that it can obviously affect your thinking. It affects really every aspect of your life, to be honest. I mean, it's a chronic illness. It is manageable in most cases with, a combination of different types of therapy, but in most cases, a quote unquote cure is not found. And people are not seeking kind of a cure life or a pain-free life, right? It's a chronic illness like others that you have to learn how to manage and control over time. And unfortunately, it's not just me that suffers, my family, my husband, my kids, my friends, because of course they don't like to see you suffering and they want to do something to help, but a lot of times there isn't a whole lot that they can do to help or to alleviate the physical suffering, right? Over time, I think, there's this kind of taboo about talking about mental health, and it's almost like a weakness if you're, experiencing psychological or emotional difficulties. But when you think about it, if any logically thinking person had some sort of a chronic illness that they were dealing with on a daily basis, whether it's pain, diabetes, cancer, you name it, a kidney disease, all kinds of different chronic pain or chronic illnesses, it's normal to be affected by that, to have your mind affected by that. You're not able to do, most people that have, these types of conditions, particularly chronic pain, are not able to engage in the things that they once loved to do. It affects your ability to sleep, to think clearly, to function with work as in your family roles, social roles, all of it is impacted. And a lot of times we think about pain as a symptom, and it can be, and it is, right? But when it turns chronic, it becomes a condition. And so, logically, we used to think about it, and doctors was assess it as like as an isolated symptom, like it's not part of your whole being. But when you're in pain, you don't sleep well. When you don't sleep well, you're in more pain, right? And the pain itself can cause you to, not think clearly. And then the treatments and not sleeping well and medications for pain can also make you not think clearly. Your mood is obviously impacted by it. Your social function, your physical function, everything really is impacted, including your faith, right? So I've definitely experienced, some depression, sometimes pretty severe over the years, depending on different things that have gone on in my life and how severe the pain, has been at different points in my life. And it really just is a matter of kind of managing it on a day-to-day basis. But I would say that if somebody says, well, it's mind over matter, you need to just toughen up or whatever it
Yeah,
is,
I hear that all the time.
it's logical. I mean, I would say someone would be abnormal if they had if they were dealing with that on a daily basis and they were completely fine otherwise, like didn't have any mental, emotional, psychological impact or nothing else was impacted. Maybe there are some superhumans out there that do that, but I don't think for the most part they are, and it's normal. It's a normal part of suffering, I would say.
Wow. It's a lot to have those limitations. Like you said, it affects everyone around you. It's not that you just going through that physical pain. It's also it affects your mentality, being depressed. And a lot of people will like probably told you, well, just be glad that you're alive. You got a family, you got so much going for you. Why you not happy? That's not how it works with depression. Sometimes it could be chemical. And like you said, because of the pain that you're going through, you don't walk your life like everybody else. I mean, think about it. We're pain free, and some people that are pain free, they get down, they get sad. So it's just emotion that it's a part of our emotional being is how we cope with certain things, like to be honest, when I went through my car accident, I actually was diagnosed with depression, and I didn't know what it was. It was like I didn't have energy to do anything. So I can't imagine, you got the pain and then you have that too. You basically have to make yourself get up out of the bed, put one foot in front of the other, and then you can't figure out what's wrong with you. You try to, like, okay, think about something different, but it's like a cloud that's there. You try to pray, people pray it away and everything. I had to really pray and I really had to trust God, but I had to get in therapy. I was in therapy. So my therapist helped me out a bunch too. So I get it, Chris. I understand. You can't just click it on and click it off and think of something and then you better. It's a process. It's a process you got there, and it's a process for you to get out there. So if you are out there and you're watching and you suffer with constant pain, chronic pain, there we go. Put in the chat how you feel someday. Put in the chat how you are managing your pain, because you never know. Somebody's watching this video and they might connect with you or be like, okay, I'm not the only one. So, Chris, we're gonna do a 60-second break because I know what you told us was kind of heavy. And we're just thankful that you're here, because that accident that you went through, I can't imagine being hit about 40 miles per hour by a car. You're not even in a car. I was in a car accident and I got hit about that going that fast or even less. And that was traumatic on my body. So I can't even imagine. I really can't, but I'm glad that you're here. So I'm going to give you 60 seconds to say whatever you want to say to the audience. And while you do that, I'm going to go see if we got some comments out there. So go ahead, Miss Chris, the floor is yours.
Well, I would just say, like you said, if you're out there and you have, chronic pain, chronic illness, or you're suffering from depression, anxiety, other psychological issues, I would just first encourage you to know that you're not alone. There's so many people in the world that are suffering from these kinds of conditions, and a lot of people just don't talk about it because they think that there's stigma and bias around it. They feel like they're the only one, or if they're not the only one, they're the only one that's not coping with it very well. And I would just encourage you to first, like I said, know you're not alone. Number two, that there is support for you. I think one of the hardest things for people to do, and it is for me too, even now, is to reach out to others around you and ask for help when you need it. And if you don't have that family or friend support, go online. There's so many online support groups, or other types of resources of people who are going through the exact same thing that you're going through. It's not your fault. And, like I said, we are learning so much more about the science of the brain. Um, there is hope, that there is a lot of research going on and new therapeutics and things like that to be developed for the future. But the here and now is that there are solutions out there. It can take some time to find which one might work for you. And then also, like I said, the emotional support system is so important. I mean, research has shown over and over again that irregardless of the level of severity of the condition that you have, people who have good emotional and supportive networks do better. They live better or live more well, I guess you could say, with chronic illness. And that's really the goal, right? Like it's if you can't take it away, the next step becomes how do I live as well as I can with purpose and passion for the rest of my life if I have to be like this, but still enjoy my life and still find meaning and purpose and joy in life.
Amen. Give them your website where they can connect with you.
So if you're interested in learning about the nonprofit work that I do, which is called the Chronic Pain Research Alliance, that's chronicpainresearch.org. And then my photography is highlighted on resiliencephotography.com, and I can put it in the chat if everyone would like.
Okay, that'd be great. So we have Renee Bernard out there, and she's watching, and she said it does affect everything. And she say, yes, people say anything, but it doesn't help. And she's right. It doesn't help. And she's had constant pain since 2017 and it's traumatic. And she says she's glad that she has a loving support group. And she put, I'm interested. So she's interested in connecting with your nonprofit. Trying to see if you put a comment out there, I just can't see it. As I always say, Facebook only selects just a few for me to see, but I want to thank everybody that's out there watching. And if you look up in the posting section of this video, you also see her what do you call it? Your not your email, your website. Your
Mhm.
website, brain fog over here. So all right, so we talked about the accident. We talked about the effects from the accident and how you have been managing about 30 years.
Mhm.
You said 30, yeah, about 30 years with the pain. So now we just want to switch it up just a little bit that how your purpose came out of your pain. A lot of times we see things traumatic and we don't understand how God uses, like he said, even the bad for our good. How something that can happen to us that we think we can never get through, never handle, and God will turn around and use it for us to bless others. Just like when Jesus was on the cross, I'm quite sure everybody that stood at the foot of the cross felt like, okay, he did all this work, he promised us this, and he has such a great ministry, but now he's dying, and everything, all the healing and everything is dying with him, not understanding that he had to go through that pain, go through that suffering in order to be resurrected, and so that even more people can be saved. Because Jesus doesn't have to walk the earth now for us to be saved. We can just literally accept him in our heart. And so, Chris, out of your pain, you found your purpose. You started your business called Resilient Photography. Tell us about that business.
Well, I think first I'd like to kind of back up a little bit because I
Okay.
think I've always felt like a strong sense of purpose since I was young. And I think that came from the fact that I almost died. When you have a near-death experience as a teenager, let's just say you don't walk out of that and go back to doing the same thing that all other teenagers are doing. So even in my late teens, like latter years of high school and early in college, I was thinking about um, I started writing because was doing a science degree. I started writing newsletter articles. I did support groups. I looked into starting a nonprofit. So I think I've always kind of felt like a strong sense of purpose, from a young age, which is where my nonprofit work was born out of. And like you said, it's all about taking what you've been through and hoping that you can use it in a good way, that others don't have to repeat what you've been through, but if they have, they also know that they have support and that they're not alone. And so I've been doing nonprofit work for since I was 18, 19 years old, so another 30 years. But the photography part came out of, I've always been interested in photography from a young age. I never took any formal classes or training or anything, but I always like just enjoyed having a throwaway camera and getting my pictures developed and making photo albums and photo collages and things like that. And then, I got married and I had work and I had kids and kind of all of that went to the side except for taking pictures of the family and doing that for that purpose. But around 2016, I had gone through probably one of the darkest times in my life when my pain had really exacerbated, had experienced some other issues that were going on personally and in my professional life. And the depression was at a max. The pain was so bad at that point in time. As I mentioned, I was an athlete in high school and my degree is in exercise physiology. I've always been very active, and that's one way that I cope with um, pain, but also just makes me feel better, being able to be active. And during that time, I really wasn't able to exercise because it made my pain so much worse. So, and then as a side effect of one of the medications that I was on, I had put on some weight, which didn't feel good. And it was just kind of a culmination of many different things at one point in time that really led me down a kind of dark path. I was in a pretty dark place. And I just felt God kind of nudging me to say, just get off the couch and get out of the house. Like, if you're doing it in tears, just do it. If you have to go, and I live in Rhode Island, so we have 400 miles of coast. I grew up on a lake. My dad was a fisherman. We always boated. I've always been drawn to the water. And here we have 400 miles of ocean coast. So there's no shortage of places in Rhode Island to go, that are beautiful, that are in nature, and just inspiring, I guess, and peaceful, right? So I just felt him saying, even if you can only walk for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, 15 minutes, just get out and go, go somewhere. So I found myself going to the beach, going to the lighthouses, going wherever, right? And usually around sunset, because that's the time that I could get out and do that kind of thing. And started kind of playing around with my iPhone and just taking pictures with that. And then, the thing about photography is that, um, well, just anything in particular, any new thing that you're learning, your brain can only focus on one thing at one time, right? So distraction is one big way of coping with pain. And most people can't distract themselves all day, every day, right? But when you engage in something new and learning something new, it does kind of distract you from physical pain, right? So I bought a camera, started teaching myself photography. So being in nature, being by the ocean, and there actually have been some recent studies about this that have looked at, people that have experienced trauma and experienced chronic illness, that being in nature, being in a setting that's peaceful and outdoors can be very healing, emotionally, psychologically, even physically, right? So that was one piece of it. I started to heal. I felt more connected to God in those places, just being outside, being in creation, being in nature, seeing all the things that he's like wonderfully put together. Just even a sunrise, a sunset, all of the, dolphins, whales, seals, like all kinds of, different creation that he's made. And then while I was focusing on, capturing that moment, wherever I was, whether it was a beach sunset or photographing a boat or a lighthouse or a rock wall or whatever it is, it distracted me from the physical pain. during that time. Now, obviously, it comes back. It's not like it goes away, like your consciousness of it returns, but
Mm.
that process kind of started, I would say, would be the beginning of, a period of healing for me that pulled me out of that really, really dark place. And it started as a hobby, as a passion for me, and I did that for a couple of years, and it was challenging to me to do a different type of photography or teach myself how to photograph a different something different, whether it was like a boat at sunset or trying to capture like a wave coming over a rock wall or whatever it may be. And over time, people started encouraging me to share my work with others, and they said, you should sell your stuff, and there's a lot of people that resonate with this and would really love to have it. And I was pretty reticent about that in the beginning because, you don't want to take something that gives you passion and joy, that you have a love for, and turn it into work, I guess you could say, into
Yep.
a business that you have to do, something that you love to do, that you're passionate to do, and then turning it into something you have to do, and the headaches that come along with, selling and marketing and, ordering and dealing with clients and things like that. But
Uh-huh.
kind of took a step out of faith with that, and said to myself, I really would like to share it with other people, especially people with chronic illness have resonated a lot with some of my images. Um, and I just said to myself, if I do start sharing it, as a business model, and it does become stressful or a headache or whatever, then I just don't have to do it as a business anymore. Like, I'm not
That makes
creating like
sense.
100-person
Mhm.
corporation here. Like, this is me and my photography, right? But what I found is that when I started sharing it with people, it was even more healing and therapeutic for me because I got to hear from people how my images resonate with them.
Don't tell it yet, Chris.
Yeah.
Don't share that yet.
Okay. I'm
We're
going
gonna
ahead right
save that for them. Yeah, I got questions.
now.
Okay. So I like how you said you started your business kind of it ended up being a distraction for pain. Isn't it something how God can tell us to do something, and if we obedient, we don't know why he told us to do it. We just do it, and then we reap the benefit of it. What they say, obedience is better than sacrifice. I truly believe that he knows exactly what to do for us, and even we can crowd or just be in our mind, just really desiring that. And God is so merciful for us, And so in His mercy, He was like, "Well, I'll have her go out and start taking pictures." And like you said, you self-taught yourself. Now, the pictures I just showed the audience, do those look like somebody just self-taught themselves? Put no or yes in the comment. If you think she self-taught herself, say yes. If you think she didn't, put no. If y'all don't believe her, put no. But your pictures, when you look at them, it is a sense of peace. It's a sense of us seeing through your eyes what you see. And so, is it you just go out and you just look at something and just be like, it's just the way you capture things. Where does that come from?
I mean, I can only say that it's a gift. I mean, a lot of people in photography will tell you that there's certain things you can teach and there's certain things you can't. There's rules of composition, when you see any type of whatever you're trying to capture, like I said, a wave coming over a wall, there's rules of composition, how to put something together, what's going to make an eye friendly type of picture. But some people will say that it's a gift. It's just simply a gift. Just like, interior design or, remodeling a house. Like, some people can walk into a room or a home and they can immediately envision, oh, I'd take that wall down, put this there, put that there, whatever, whatever. And other people just walk in and they look around, I don't like it or I like it, but they can't envision, right? They can't see how it could be different or how they would change it or make it into something different.
Hmm.
When
Okay.
I see things, I just I see how I want to frame it. I don't know how else to explain. Like, you do a lot of walking around, bending down, looking up, moving around. People make fun of me, friends and family, because right around like sunset time, I'll start looking up in the sky to see like which way the clouds are facing, where the color is going to be. It automatically brings to mind where I can go, what I can photograph at that point in time. Like it, I mean, I truly just, I mean, I have to say that I think it's just a gift for
Mhm.
most people. Now, can you be taught it? Yes, I think you can. Is it going to be as good as if it's given naturally to a person as a gift? I don't think so, but
Yeah.
I'm not the judge of that. There's
Well,
obviously lots of
I've
different.
seen your pictures since I've known you, and just your pictures of people just always stood out, you know? And I remember, let me see, last time I was in Rhode Island, I was looking at your pictures and I was like, Chris, this before you remember, I was one of the people, I was like, you should sell it. And you told me, you was like, a business is too much, this and that. So when I had heard that you had started your photography business, I was so excited for you. And you're right, business is a lot, but like you said, it's how you manage it, how you grow. It's like an MLM. You can have a bunch of people up under you, a bunch of training, or it could just be you just selling it. So you manage your business well. And so, what is some of the feedback? Here we go. This is the question. What's some of the feedback or impact your photos have on your clients?
Um, I mean, so where we are, the area where I live in Rhode Island and in the community that I do most of my photography in is an area called Point Judith, which is a long-standing, commercial fishing community. So there's a lot of rich history of generational fishermen, light keepers at lighthouses and things like that. So I'm not a Rhode Island native. I grew up in Wisconsin. I've lived here for, 20 plus years, but there's things that I take pictures of and have available to people, but I don't necessarily know the history behind it. So, for example, one of the lighthouses that I took a picture of, I had, a family member who came and her grandparents were original lighthouse keepers in that lighthouse. And she told me all about, the history of it and how special it is to her and things like that, and how much she resonated with the picture in terms of me capturing it at sunrise, or I don't remember what the exact picture it was, but and how that meant something to her. So obviously I can't know any of that, people's family histories and, experiences that they've had at different landmarks and things like that. So I mean, I've learned a lot from people from those types of experiences. And then there's another group of people that resonate, with the type of images that I usually put out, so like this one right here, this is a boat called The Determination. And I like inspirationally named boats. And if you've ever seen a commercial fishing vessel up close, like they're rusty, they're banged up, there's wires everywhere, there's stuff all over the deck. Like it's not a pretty well packaged little boat, right? But to me, like it's a sign of resiliency. It's a sign of, like, I guess what I resonate with life, having experienced what I've experienced and the journey that I've had with chronic illness. It's like, we don't all just come, like, our lives are just this culmination of banged up and this, that, and the other thing, but it's still beautiful, right? Like, and there's still an inspiring message. So you can have a boat like this that's all rusted, banged up, everything like that, that has this inspirational name like Determination, and then put like a beautiful sunset backdrop behind that. And to me, that's kind of the culmination of resilience and of life in general, is that yes, life is difficult, it's challenging, you get banged up, you get bruised, but you come through. It can still be beautiful and it's still functional and it still has a purpose. And so those types of things I've heard from a lot of people that have chronic illness, that resonate with those images of, tenacity, boats named Tenacity or Hopeful. Um, of like waves crashing over, during a storm, crashing over a jetty, a rock wall, where they said, wow, that to me like embodies the experience of chronic pain. Like you're the wall, but you're enduring this wave of pain day after day, but you're still standing and you're still functioning and you're still strong, right? But you're experiencing this. So They say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and I truly believe that. I'm not someone, I am a writer, but for work, but I haven't always done like personal journaling or anything, but photography for me is like a personal journal. I can remember, where I was at the time. When I look at a picture, I remember where I was, what I was doing, what I was feeling in that moment, what was going on in my life, those types of things. And I feel like when you look at an image, even though 10 different people could look at the same image and it could mean something completely different to each one of them, but it does tell a story, right? I had a woman last summer who came up to me, and it was a picture of I had gone somewhere here for sunset and on the beach, and there was this old blue Chevrolet truck that was sitting on green grass, and then the sunset was right behind it. It was like this beautiful yellow, orange, pink sky. And, she came up to me and she looked at that picture and she started weeping.
Hmm.
Um, and I was like, what's going on here? Like, is this a good weeping, a bad weeping? And she shared her story with me that, and I thought it was a cool Chevy truck, like on, overlooking like the ocean, like almost like it was watching the sunset. And she had been diagnosed with cancer. So she had been fighting cancer for several years. And she said, um, she was preparing to die essentially.
Oh,
And
wow.
she explained that that picture gave her so much hope because it was like she explained the truck was like carried her life, her memories, her relationships, all the things that had happened to her in her life. And it was like it was almost going out into the light, which is
Mm,
at that moment in her life, that's
yeah.
what she was thinking on, her relationships, regrets, things she's done in her life, things she's accomplished, all that stuff, which she said felt like her memories, all of that was like held in the truck, but then there's more afterwards, right? And that's what sat with her. Like I never thinking of that, looking at that
Got it.
picture, that's never what I would have imagined somebody thinking,
Mm,
but she was at a completely different place in her life. And she just said that that picture gave her so much hope for what comes next for her.
wow.
Um,
That's really deep, Chris. That's really deep. That you just think you're just simply taking a picture, but it pulls in, it touches people's souls. And it's right, like during the pandemic, I just started posting pretty pictures of clothes and nails and stuff because I wanted us to get distracted off of the virus. We were seeing so much negativity. And I said if I could just at least display what it was before the pandemic, because I was over here about to die because I couldn't get my nails done. I'm not gonna lie, that was the hardest part of the pandemic for me was not getting my nails done. I have had my nails since I was, well, I'll just say this. I've had nails for at least 30 years. I've never went without my nails. And I was down to like about three on my hand during the pandemic, and I was like, no, I am not going to take them off. And I found a nail kit at CVS. I think it was the last one, and I managed to do my nails. I was like, whoo, because I would not absolutely know how to function without them. But I get it. Pictures distract you from your situation, and they distract you, like you said, from your pain. So, Chris, it's time for us to go. So I'm gonna give you a 1 minute closeout, and while you do that, I'm gonna go on your website, and I'm gonna be showing your pictures so they can see how talented you are, and maybe a picture will resonate with somebody. She sells her pictures, y'all. She just don't put them on her website for them to be very beautiful. So if you can see behind her, these pictures look like you went in the store and you purchased these pictures, but these are from an original artist. So Chris, go ahead and give us a closeout. Let me find your website back here. I kept showing it every now and then because I wanted people to see your work because it's great work.
Thank you. Again, I would just say, that, if you're experiencing something challenging in your life right now, that beauty can come from difficulty, right? We experience it's part of being a human being. We experience difficulties in life. with our health and our relationships, with different situations in our life. Um, but your pain and things that you've gone through can be turned into a purpose. And I do believe, as God said, that we are all created for a reason and for a purpose and at a specific time. And you may not know what your purpose is, or how you could potentially use your pain or the journey or difficulties that you've gone through to help other people. But I would say, just if you don't know what that is, start to pray about it, start to explore it, and don't be afraid to share with other people. I think a lot of times we want to put up the image to other people that, we're handling things and nothing is wrong and we don't want to burden others and things like that. But you have no idea how sharing your story and what you've been through, can help other people, at a particular time. And I would say just be open to that, be open to be vulnerable and to do that, because you just never know what somebody else is going through. We look at other people and we think that their lives are perfect and they have, all these happy circumstances, and they're not like us. But I'm telling you, everybody has a story and everybody is experiencing some kind of difficulty. So I would just say to be kind, be vulnerable, don't be afraid to share. Um, and you're here for a reason.
Amen. Gotta ask you this question.
Mhm.
Was this seal a paid actor? He is
No.
truly just, I have to go back. I mean, he is truly modeling for you. Look at this with the hand over his eyes.
Yeah.
Did you spend a lot of time with him?
So that was over about a 3-day period. So one of the other things that I do is volunteer for the marine mammal animal rescue here locally. So when we have seal pups like that haul out on the beach and we get calls, we'll go check in on them, make sure that they're all right. So this particular seal I spent about 3 days with. She hauled out on the beach 3 days in a row. And so there are a lot of pictures over the course of 3 days, but they're really, people think I have an obsession with seals, but I don't know how to explain it. It's like if you're a dog lover or a cat lover. For me, I just love seal pups. So, and they do a lot of funny things and you can capture them, photographically. I feel like they tell stories too. So,
Oh, this one is beautiful. Look like it's got pom-poms on it. That's a beautiful picture. I love the colors. It's just the colors just kind of like draw you in. Look at this one, the provider. These are beautiful, Chris.
thank you.
Wow. Oh, wow. All right, y'all. Thank you, Chris. I thank you so much for being a guest tonight. And I pray that some of your photos that they seen on your website tonight will really pull them in and give them a sense of peace. You can see through your photographs the peace. It's just something about how you just pull people into that moment. They're not just looking at a picture, they're experiencing what you have experienced. And I love those seal pups. I didn't realize how much personality they had. They almost kind of remind me of a dog or a cat, as you say. So I want to thank you for being a guest on the Ruby Girl Talk. Of course, we will be in touch. Of course. But I just want to thank you for sharing your story tonight. And I pray that you encourage somebody that's going through what you're going through, chronic pain. You gave me a better understanding of it too, because sometimes we think chronic pain is something like, okay, just push through it. That it's not like you when your leg is broke, then we like, okay, we know your limitations. You can't run down the street with a broke leg. But when your mind, when your body, certain parts of your brain is not functioning right, it's almost like you're functioning with a broke leg, and you have to just wait until healing or you get that break where you can function. But I do admire you, and I say you have a lot of courage for getting up every single day and staying in this world. Even though it's a painful world for you, but I know your faith in God is what keeps you going. And I know you have a hope of the day when you stand before God and there's not a pain in your body, a pain-free day. So I'm wishing you well with your photography, with your business, with your life. And for everybody that's out there, I just speak encouragement no matter what you're going through. If Chris can get up every single day and show up like she show up, how she get up every single day and use her talent and her gifts, you can't be sitting on your talents and gifts. You can't use pain as an excuse. Use pain as your purpose. Use pain to push you. So, all right, have a great, fantastic night. I'm looking for a guest for next week, y'all. Put in a comment if you would like to be my guest for next week. Go to rubygirl.net. You can book on my show. Just look for the talk show tab. And I'll be here next week at 8:30. And thank you so much, Chris. If you need anything or need to come back, you're always welcome on the Ruby Girl Talk.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're welcome.